Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. I know it's probably as of now been a whole month since I've gotten off my Disney Wish cruise, and I will say it was an amazing cruise. And I think I'll put up a video very soon about how well I made out with the cruise and everything. Although there was so much going on that I just had to stay away from videoing. But as you can see by what's in front of you, yes, you're seeing it here, I got more JetBlue planes that have been long overdue to get. 2 of them by NG models and 1 by Gemini Jets. By NG models, we've got the A321neo in the balloon, ribbons tail fin as a mint experience. We've also got another A321neo LR. However, one thing you might notice is that it's the same registration tail number. It also has the same caption as a disclaimer from what Panda models made about a year or two ago, named Joel Peterson. But this is NG models and Panda models. I don't know if they're really like alike or something, but I am very curious to see if there will be differences between this one and that one. And finally, with Gemini Jets, this is a model I have been really waiting and begging for, and it's finally here. Yes, finally Gemini Jets has done a JetBlue A220-300s, and this registration and tail number has been made by Skymarks in 1 in 100 scale and 1 in 200 scale, and long ago Herpa 1/500 scale, and now Gemini Jets 1/400 scale, with the registration being November 3044 Juliet, and the caption on the aircraft being called Drawing of a Blue Era. And honestly, with the Gemini Jets model of the A220, it has been out of the box before. I just had to take a good look at it, and I promise you it's not broken. But let's just hope it's not like that with the 2 NG models. I should have gotten some super glue prepared, but either way, whatever happens, if one comes broken, I will be prepared to just super glue it back. I might take them to my room to do the maintenance on that. But let's get into the unboxing. And since the JetBlue A220 was what was overdue, we'll start with that first. Alright, here we go. Gonna pull this out of the box once again for all of you to see. I'm glad I decided to pull the aircraft boxes out of the shipping boxes. I figured I'd cut a little bit of something out. And so here it is. The official Gemini Jets made JetBlue A220-300. Gonna set it down, and then we're going to take a look at her up close. Okay, so as of now, as you can see, I am definitely going handheld for this part, as we are taking a closer look at the aircraft model. And I gotta say, it does look typical of the A220 series you would expect to get from Gemini Jets. Rather, it's with Delta or Air Canada, and also recently Breeze Airways. Now, finally, after all the anticipation, finally we get the JetBlue one. And I will say, these have been in service with JetBlue for almost about 2 or 3 years, and we never, ever got one in 1/400 by Gemini Jets, and I'm just so happy it's finally here. Sorry about that coughing. That's not me. That's my mom. Fortunately, she's very sick. She's been having a bit of a coughing fit, so you're just going to have to put up with that sound if you hear it in the background. I'm very sorry. Let's just take a closer look at the plane. So yeah, other than that, the details are very excellent looking. You can see that beautiful hops tail fin. And then looking closely, you can see clearly the registration number. November 3044 Juliet. And then here's towards the front of the aircraft where you can carefully see the caption, Drawing of a Blue Era. So yeah, this is Airbus's space age technology for you. You can also see they always have the hops livery on the inside of those winglets or sharklets. So yeah, one truth be told about the A220s in JetBlue's fleet is that eventually, probably by 2025 or 2026, these are definitely going to be used as a replacement for the aging and very, very small E190 in the near future. Sorry for all the shakiness. I'm just moving around a little bit. So yeah, like I was saying, this is going to be the replacement aircraft eventually for the E190 aircraft. And I think it said it's also going to be serving as a replacement for some older JetBlue A320 aircraft that still have the classic 150 seating arrangement, that instead of just retrofitting them with the 160 seat configuration, the same kind of seating you'd have on this aircraft, instead of reconfiguring or retrofitting them, they're eventually just going to retire those A320s. And plus, JetBlue is still in the merger process with Spirit Airlines, so once the merger is finished, they'll have twice as much A320s, A321s, also A320neos, and soon even an A319neo. Although I don't know how long this merger is going to take, but we will see. And other than that, I've always thought the A220 was a pretty cool plane. Space-age technology, making this airplane look like a spaceship. And Gemini Jets really hits a ball out of the park by adding 3 of those antenna aerials with 1 SATCOM box in the correct position, way a little bit towards the back compared to my Herpa 1/500 scale model of it. So yeah, this is a very excellent quality model. Can't wait to debut this one day at my airport, because in fact there are 2 JetBlue A220 flights out of New York JFK, including Kansas City and Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But truthfully, the A220s are mostly based only out of Boston. I think that's the reason why JetBlue discontinued flights from JFK to Key West and continued with Boston to Key West. So I'll have a little bit more ranting to do once we look at the other aircraft. Other than that, I'm very, very impressed with the attention to detail that Gemini Jets put on this thing. So yeah, y'all guys hit a ball out of the park, and I hope the next planes I get, either with JetBlue or Delta, I hope they'll really nail and hit a ball out of the park with the next planes I'm hoping to get very soon. Alright, let's move on to the 2 NG models, A321neo and Neo LR. So yeah, this is a little bit hard to get on camera because of the fact the way a different angle I have to lean this selfie stick tripod. So all I could do was just hold it like that. And once again, I really do apologize for all those coughing fits you gotta put up with my mom. I tried to close the door behind in her room and in this room I'm recording in, but unfortunately my cat just doesn't want that to happen because my cat really hates closed doors. So forgive all that sounds, and I hope that all you can do is leave a comment below hoping my mom will feel better. I don't know where she got sick and all. Hopefully she does feel better. So a few nice comments saying hoping your mother feels better soon, that would be very, very much appreciated and all. But let's continue on with these JetBlue planes. So I believe we have received a ribbon's tail of an A321neo like this from Panda models, except that one was named a Neo Mentality, and I think the registration number was November 2105, if I can remember. This one being registered, as it says on the box, November 2142, I think that's how it is. If I can see it correctly. Yeah, it's 2142. This one also does transcontinental flights over to LAX, but instead of this one being based out of JFK, it's based out of Boston. But other than that, same thing it does. And this one and the other one has not been opened, even though I decided to skip on video pulling them out of their shipping boxes. decided to just do the unboxing here. So here we go, first time out of the box. And of course, as usual, NG models, planes always include these cards like that. I did hear that rattling. I'm just shaking this around, hoping that there's nothing wrong. Hoping nothing is loose, because you never know with, as of now, any 1/400 scale manufacturer. I'm just glad it wasn't Gemini Jets that had their issue with the A220. Alright, here we go. Another A321neo with a ribbons tail. This one being based out of Boston. And it looks like we're pretty much good to go. Yep, I don't see anything broken. No missing landing gear. So yeah, I think this one's good to go. Alright, so we're just going to make a cut so I can get all the boxing and packing out of the way and a closer look at the aircraft. Alright, so we are back, and this time while I was off camera, I tried to close the door behind my mom's room, and in the room I'm making my video from, I left that door open so that way you wouldn't have to deal with my cat, because my cat starts meowing like crazy whenever she sees closed doors. She just doesn't like closed doors for some reason. So if eventually you should hear from the cat, not to worry, it's just a cat. It doesn't matter. Alright, so let's take a look at this. So we just pulled it out, and so far there's no flaws, there's nothing broken about it. So yeah, I'd say this one's in good shape after all. So as you can see, the caption on this one says, a mint summer night dream. Very nice caption for this one. So yeah, due to the fact that this one also has the ribbons tail fin, this one is also used for transcontinental flights across from this time from Boston to LAX. And since this is an NG molding, as you can see, instead of there being a gray SATCOM box on top of the fuselage, it's a white SATCOM box. So that might be the difference we're looking at with the A321neo LR. Even though it has the same registration number and caption as the one made by Panda models. And even though this one is also based out of Boston, I'm not going to let this interfere, even though most of my JetBlue updates are usually based out of New York JFK and all. Speaking of the ribbons tail fins, along with the balloons tail fins on regular A321neos, I'm noticing that they're putting this tail fin as well on regular A321-200 CO aircraft. And I want to find out why, but I just don't know why they're doing that. So, other than that, I'm glad this is a good looking plane. I'm glad to have another one of these that's used on transcontinental flights. You never know though, the one that's the other registration tail number and the other caption, sometimes they probably can switch places between Boston and New York JFK. Either way, both of them are primarily used on transcontinental flights across the U.S. from JFK and Boston to Los Angeles. And these have a different Mint's class cabin, where instead of the classic cabin where all the seats face forward, this time all the seats are kind of angled towards the aisle. If you have seen some video reviews on that, those are pretty cool looking Mint suites and all. Kind of wish the NG or Gemini Jets came out with the regular A321 that had the classic Mint studio. We wouldn't tell if it was a Mint plane exterior wise, unless, as you could see with this over here, it would have that little green Mint logo. That's the only way we could tell exterior wise if it's a Mint plane. Alright, let me see if I can give y'all a full 360 degree look at this. Each of these planes is powered by some brand new Pratt & Whitney 1100 series engines, which are much more quieter than the IAE and the CFM engines. Don't get me wrong, I really love the buzz sound the old IAE and CFM engines make, a lot better than the jet blast coming from the rear of the engines. But I think quiet might be a lot better. Also more fuel efficiency. So a big thanks to both Airbus and Pratt & Whitney for a brand new design, with NEO standing for new engine option and CO standing for current engine option. So yep, beautiful aircraft. Welcome to the fleet. Can't wait to get more JetBlues in the future. Alright, there you have it. Let's move on to the next one that's used on transatlantic flights over the Atlantic Ocean. We're going to try it from this angle instead. Still can hardly have this tripod just stand up like this and get the whole box in the shot. But here we go. Another JetBlue A321neo LR used on transatlantic flights. For now, they're doing flights from both JFK and Boston to either London Heathrow or London Gatwick Airport in England. Man, that coughing is so distracting. Anyway, speaking of those flights to either London Heathrow or Gatwick, pretty soon this summer they also should be adding Paris Charles de Gaulle and eventually Amsterdam. However, sometime by next year they should be taking delivery of another long-range version of the A321neo with the letters XLR, which stands for extra long range. And I'm definitely praying that they do flights at least to the mainland of Portugal, because I am truthfully Portuguese American, and I would love for JetBlue's name to be in Portugal, either Lisbon or Porto, Portugal. I don't expect the Azore Islands, since that's where my grandparents really grew up. But other than that, they're off to a good start, extending all the way to Europe. There's no low-cost airline in the U.S. that does it until JetBlue stepped up their game. Alright, so let's pull this thing out of its box. Came in this angle instead. Another NG Models card. And it looks like we are okay. No loose wings. No broken landing gear. No broken stabilizers or tail like what happened one time with my Gemini Jets and Panda models planes. Nothing wrong with that. Everything is okay. Alright, let's make a cut and we'll just take a closer look at the model. And here we are again, continuing this review handheld. So here you have it, another JetBlue A321LR. Instead of having a new registration number and caption, it has the same one that was made by Panda models. I know that does sound unusual, but there are becoming a lot of these in JetBlue's fleet, each with their own registration number and their own caption. If you remember long ago my Skymarks review of this kind of aircraft, it had a really unique caption, as I can remember. I think I can remember the registration being November 4048 Juliet, and the caption was called, "Allow me to mintroduce myself." But now between Panda models and now NG models, yet again we get this registration, November 4022 Juliet, with the caption named after someone named Joel Peterson. And I believe, according to Wikipedia, Joel Peterson, I think, is an employee somehow of JetBlue, and I think he's the one that came up with the idea of having a long-range A321neo like the ones in Aer Lingus and TAP Portugal have for transatlantic flights across the ocean. So far, ever since JetBlue has taken delivery of these with what's known as the streamer's tail fin, so far they've gotten off to a good start by crossing the Atlantic to London, England, either by landing at London Heathrow or Gatwick. If I had to choose either one of those airports, I would have gone with Heathrow because it's the busiest airport in England and also has a very, very beautiful view when you come in for your approach. Depending on which runways you're landing on, you can see the entire city of London. I look forward to seeing that if I make my approach landing like that. And yeah, one of the cool thing, of course, about these Neo LR aircraft is that aside from there being streamers designed on the tail like that, you can also see it on the inside version of the sharklet or winglet, but Airbus for some reason calls it sharklet. And yeah, I know these engines are big, but that is how Pratt & Whitney designed them. Big looking engines for a much more quieter design. Some people describe the sound when it's spooling up almost as if it was a lonely whale. But I just describe it as more quiet and very, very nice sounding for some of those people who didn't like the buzzsaw action of the IAE or CFM engines. Even though those other engines are relatively loud when they spool up to full power, I'd rather hear that rather than the roar of the jet blast I hear from behind the aircraft engine. But I think with these new Pratt & Whitney 1100 series engines, they definitely are much better. It's quiet it's a quiet takeoff for the front and the back of the aircraft. So yeah, towards the front of the fuselage, that's where you'll have your mint suite cabin with those suites and their seats that are definitely lie flat seats. They also do flights that are usually mostly daytime flights as well. I'm glad JetBlue compromised for that. And yeah, this is a beautiful airplane. And I think I can see the difference. That NG model has a white SATCOM box, where Panda made their SATCOM box gray, which I think is a tad bit more prototypical. But I could always switch out between NG and Panda with this registration number. But some people get them even if they are the same registration and tail number anyway, because JetBlue always gets multiple of these same tail fins, just with different registration numbers and different captions. So here's our final look and 360-degree look at the aircraft. NG models went bang on with all the details. And because my grandmother won't be here for a while, I think I'm going to get ready to come back to doing model airport updates. This time only of Jacksonville and New York JFK, because I still definitely need to collect a few more Delta models if I'm going to get back to Atlanta. But other than that, let's wrap up this video with taking a look at all three aircraft. Alright, and here we go. A220, A321neo for Transcon. Actually, this is the A321LR. A321neo Transcon. So yep, there you have it. Now I'm probably going to do a tad bit of ranting. If any of you want to end the video right now, that's okay with me. If you don't want to hear much ranting. And the really quick ranting to mention is very, very true about the A220-300 is that not a lot of these are based out of New York JFK. A lot of these are mostly Boston-based instead, with I remember the inaugural flight of the aircraft in JetBlue's fleet happening on a flight from Boston to Tampa, and sure enough, that went well. And I will tell you, when you're in Boston, you'll see a lot of these going to different destinations. They have been here to Jacksonville as well, but for some reason, Boston, when JetBlue is only sending us E190s for now. Even on certain JFK flights, they're using E190s as well. But believe me, I think Gemini Jets is definitely getting us prepared that we are getting very close to the retirement of the E190s. And believe me, once those little aircrafts are retired, definitely you're going to see a lot of A220-300s doing all the flights that have been based out of JFK and everywhere. They're going to do every flight that has been done on an E190. And I can't wait to see that, and I hope the A220 succeeds as well during the seasonal service to the Cape Cod Islands of Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. And yeah, the hop sail is definitely native mostly to the A220s. However, even though an E190 is the only one of its kind to receive that beautiful blueprint livery, eventually when the E190s, one of these A220s, will also be repainted to a blueprint livery as well, just like you've seen on the E190. But that's not going to be confirmed until the E190s are gone and out of the fleet for sure. So that means JetBlue will transition to an all Airbus fleet without any Embraer regional jets. All Airbus, between the current engine option Airbuses and now the new engine options with the A321neo LRs and the A321neos that do transcon, and the all-core economy A321neos with the balloons tail fin. And it is cool to see some of those tail fins being painted on regular A321-200 CO aircraft, but I do with those aircraft prefer the prism tail fins. So there you have it with this triple JetBlue unboxing. None of them came broken. They're all in good shape. Can't wait to use these on another airport update very soon. Thank you for watching. Until next time, Cameron at Pinchio8 is signing, and this time flying out. Between now and the next time, see you in the sky.